September 19th, 2024. Call to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Theodore? Here. Mrs. McPhillips? Here. Mrs. Urquhart Barnfield? Here. Mrs. Deck? Here. Mrs. Lella? Here. Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Trapuzio?
Here. We have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mission statement. The mission of North School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment. Celebrate the success. Who would like to take the lead?
So I'm actually going to do the Celebrate for Success tonight. And tonight our Celebrate for Success is the Lee preschool playground, which I have a short, if you can put everyone's attention up to the screen. Short little presentation to share with you. Volume is not working. Worked in dress rehearsal. Oh, that's so cute hearing the kids play too. Worked in dress rehearsal. Actually practice it on this screen. Let me stop it for a second. Hold on. No, I do want it. Well, you can continue to watch it. There's a lovely little song that plays right here. And we'll put this up on our website. This was the first day, which we opened the playground on Monday. The students, the mixed pictures of the morning and afternoon kids. It's funny looking at it from the perspective when we put it together and looking at the parts that were so difficult to build and then see the kids out playing on it. Because as you know, we did a community build for the playground. Put everything together. That trolley thing, all the slides, and all the different parts. But we had wonderful community members on probably the hottest Saturday that there was this summer. Which So in addition to the playground and the little house area, there are tricycles and bikes that are out there. That's a little game that they're playing with throwing beanbags. There are some stepping stones that you see some kids playing on. Unfortunately, missing hearing their reaction when they first run out there is really priceless. I'll get this together for you. We'll get it up on our website. I tried to sit on the back of this one. Big little stepping stones. Just big one. We included about 10 feet of the grass area into the fence area so that the kids wouldn't grass parks too, and not just all of the floor and the asphalt area. And then they also have up to the side, you'll see some little picnic tables that look like little tree stumps. All other little benches to sit on. That's lovely. Took us maybe the entire day. They love the fire truck. Also to the turns. That picture at the end there was taken by the playground company last weekend. They came by with a drone and took pictures, and they are going to feature that picture in their next catalog. So thank you, Dr. Raffinola, for putting that together. One other thing I want to share with you really quickly in our Celebrate for Success, the students made Mr. Seller's cute little book here, a thank you card, and this is just so precious on this page right here. It has before playground, and the student has a little sad face, and then waiting, and the student has a little up and down face, and then after playground with a little smile. So the kids watched that put together, and they just were jumping out of their skins waiting for it. So I want to thank the community members that put this together. This was a very challenging build. The little houses were a great deal of work, but we're really happy on everything we put together that day. So thank you for helping us. So that's really the only thing we're celebrating today and Celebrate Success.
Thank you. And now, conduct a public hearing regarding North School District 80 fiscal year 25 budget. I'd like to call to just to order, and I need a roll call.
Mrs. Theodore? Here. Mrs. Lee Phillips? Here. Mrs. Urbach Barnfield? Here. Mrs. Deck? Here. Mrs. Lala? Here. Mr. Berardi?
Here.
Mr. Trifuzio?
Here. Quorum is present. Let me read this first. Illinois law requires that a public hearing be held prior to the adoption of the district's budget. Public hearing is not a dialogue or question and answer session between the board and the audience. It is a time when the public can present information and express opinions. The board's role is to listen intently to all comments presented by the public, and then consider those comments when the board deliberates on the adoption of the budget. So now to receive comments from the public regarding the proposed fiscal year 25 North School District budget. Any?
We have a presentation for the budget also.
Okay.
And Mrs. DeBoer will be coming up for that, and I was maybe some technical difficulties. The presentation is in board book also. It is short.
So the very first slide is the budget summary, which all of you also have a copy in front of you. And this really has not changed much at all from the tentative budget. There were some slight changes, but not many. So this is a review. The very first row is our fund balance. So there's the fund balance that was at the end of fiscal year 24, and also what is our fund balance at the beginning of this year. A lot of things are always focused around what our fund balance is, and there are also additional laws that are being passed where we have to go over and over and review the fund balances. So I'll go into a deeper fund balance presentation around when we do the tentative levy. But if you just look at our operating funds, which is ed, operations and maintenance, transportation, working cash, our beginning fund balance is just around $6 million, which leaves us in a comfortable place to do many of the things that we would like to do this school fiscal year. Not all of them, but many of them. Then we have our revenues in all of the funds, and then our expenditures in all of the funds. In the ed fund, we're projecting a deficit. The budget's always a projection, right? It's our best guess. It's where we think we're gonna be. 29,000 deficit. That does also have a contingency in it. So if we were to completely spend every dollar that's in this budget, except for the contingency, probably put in deficit spend. So even though there's that small deficit, it's still really okay. Operations and maintenance is kind of balancing out the ed fund's deficit, because we think we're gonna have an excess of 25,000. Transportation, there's a bigger deficit there than we had, but it's okay, because it's still what we planned for and what we've known is coming for a while, because our fund balance in transportation was higher, and we do get the revenue for transportation a year behind. So, it's okay. Working cash, there's a little bit of an excess because we can't spend anything out of there. That's really just our savings account. And it has saved us the past couple of years whenever there was the taxes coming in late. So it's a very important savings account, and we're very lucky to have it. Debt services, our expenditures are a little bit more than our revenues, but that's okay too. That's not a big deal. 50, which is IMF and Social Security and Medicare. We're about even. Capital projects is our biggest deficit, but we've also known that was coming, and that's because we've been doing so many projects, and this is the last year for ESSER funds, and that's where we did some of our bigger projects, and we spent all of our bond money now. So we're relying mostly now back on our CPPRT. Then in tort, which is our liability, workman's comp, cyber insurance, we have a little bit of an excess. And then fire prevention and safety, which is our life safety plans, there's a little bit of a deficit, but that's okay. So adjustments from the tentative, we looked closely at personnel and benefits and looked at any changes that were made and adjusted those on the budget. There are things that we have to budget for even if we don't currently have that expense in place. So for example, if you look at our online what our open positions are, we have para positions open, we have a sped teacher open. We still have to budget for those even though we don't currently have those roles in place. So the adjustments to personnel and benefits are things that we know that are in place that we can control. The ones that we don't know, those are still budgeted for at full cost because they may cost us that if we do get those roles still. Grants, so we looked at all of our grants where they were at, and we put them in, how much revenue we're actually gonna get in, what we're gonna use the expenditures for, and made any adjustments from where we had the tentative budget. And I actually went through all of our expenses and revenues line by line, looked where they were at, projected them out, and adjusted the budget if they needed to be. So our next steps are in October, we'll have a facilities meeting. And November is the tentative levy, but we'll also review the fund balances a little more deeply. And then December will be the levy hearing.
So I have 3 questions.
Okay.
For transportation, I know that we get the monies a year in arrears, but is it still only 75%?
So that, it usually is, but the state always every year says it's gonna be 100%. Then when they know how much they have for transportation and how much people put in for the claims, then we find out. So we don't know the exact percentage yet for this year, but it is usually around 75.
Okay. Second, debt services, can you just give a little bit more color around what that is?
So that is only our bond payment. So the revenue that comes into there, we don't levy for that. The county tells us how much we're gonna get. And there's no other revenue that can go in there unless if it's that revenue. So when I put the revenue in, it's what I know that we're gonna get from the county, and then the expenditures are what is on our bond payment schedule. And this year, our auditors had us move into there, anything that is technically a lease is a debt if we have a lease. The only other lease that we have, the only lease we have is for our Conica copiers.
Okay. Last question. I know that we had been awarded some money through Representative Markwick's office,
Uh-huh.
and I know that was a couple of years back. A, do we know any other further status as to when that will be received? And B, when we do receive it, where does it go? I know you can't put it in the budget because it's been a couple of years, right?
So it's, we actually did find out very recently that we are getting it. And we found out, well, Mrs. Buzik found out from an email from GATA, which is the Grants Accountable Transparency Act, saying please go in and accept the NOSA, which is the Notice of Award. And we did budget for it, but I had also budgeted for it last year. So I budgeted the expense and the revenue last year and this year, and it's kind of a wash, because if we don't get if we didn't get the grant, we weren't gonna do the expense, we'll never get that revenue.
So it needs to be so now you've accepted it, I'm assuming. What's the turnaround? To actually get the money. So I know that we have it earmarked and there were very specific uses for it. So do we know anything further as to the timeline? Will it be this year? This year before December or this fiscal year?
Sure. So after I got the GATA and accepted the NOSA, I did reach out to our representative on that, and she said it will still be some time. Basically what she said to me is this is still, now it still needs to go through some other state approvals. This is a very different grant than our normal grant, how things funnel down to us. Things funnel one of two ways. Federal grants, we get reimbursed after we spend the money. State grants, we plan on how we're spending the money and they kind of just drop it monthly for us, so a little different. I'm not sure exactly how this will drop. I don't know if it'll be a reimbursement once we spend it, or if it'll be, okay, here's the money, send us expenditure reports. I don't know, and I can't get an answer on that, unfortunately. But the last that I heard from our representative was that we're still a little ways off. Interestingly, Senator Markwick's office reached out to both principals just recently, in the last couple of weeks, asking if we had any additional projects that needed funding, which they both sent those emails to me, and I responded with a plethora of extra projects that we have that can use some funding. Things like big projects, like bathrooms that need to be remodeled, and big projects that are going on in each of the buildings. So not things like furniture, aesthetics, pretty stuff, just like big projects that we have. So I have not heard back on that, but I did in both of those emails really stress, let's try to focus on the one we have been awarded also.
All right.
And get through the process.
Refresh my memory, this has been a while. What was the projects that we applied for?
Sure, yep. It was the lock project, which is still okay that it's in there and that we move forward because there's different parts to it. It was the wood ceiling at Giles, which as you would call is a life safety issue. And it was the lentil at Giles. So if you're out where Oleander hits Cullum, on that area where the kids walk in, on the right side right there, which is the science classrooms, that lentil is not structurally, it's fine, because inside the brick is the structure, and that's fine, but the brick and the pieces of the limestone are falling off.
So we obviously need to get these completed either way if we get this
Correct.
grant. So can we do the work and if we can't get reimbursed, or it has to be,
That's
we
what I
wait for the
can't-
money and,
I can't get the answer to it. I can't. We're a little caught up on both of these projects right now because of our pending issues with STR, which is probably more of a closed session discussion. So we're kind of in a hold right now on that anyways. So we are hoping that we would get this funding, get the issues with STR handled, and be able to move forward on it with architect.
Hypothetically, if it prolongs, we get past this and do the work, and then it's complete, and they say, oh, we're ready to give you money, we're like, well, we completed this, do we have to reapply if they won't reimburse us?
And it's just another thing I don't know. So a regular federal or state grant, I can go in and amend at any point up to 30 days before the end of the grant. So this particular grant is through a whole different system. It's specific to those needs that we wrote. And as you probably recall, 2 meetings ago, we also received information, questioned the historical age of the building and wanted to make sure it didn't qualify for that certification, which then could really put a different lens on every project that we have moving forward. We have turned in that information also, so we haven't heard back on that, but we know that that has been received and it's being reviewed.
I'm sorry, so when you do ask our state rep about reimbursement, do they say, I don't know either, or?
Correct.
Interesting.
Or an answer of it's still going to take some time.
That is fine, I just would like
That's what I received.
the reimbursement part, I mean, it's not fine, I
It's
guess.
totally not fine because some of these things are like
Right,
serious,
but-
like
Oh, sure.
limestone falling off.
Well,
Serious.
100%, so what I'm saying, that's fine, I'm not saying that's fine that they're giving us the runaround, no, that's not fine, but these are things that need to get done, and it's unfortunate that we need to get them done, and we're penalized by not getting reimbursed. My question would be,
Right.
I would like to know if we're getting reimbursed, because if not, then we should push 3 other projects along, so when that money is available, we get that approval and there's no hiccup. That's what I'm.
Yeah, it just hasn't been the urgent, it will hit urgency once we have an architect. Just we've been in a holding pattern right now. And it may be, as I mentioned, it's simple, it's a process, but I can go in and amend any grant that we have up to 30 days at the end of the grant on a the typical state and federal grants. This one's just very different, and I'm not getting any answers about it. So I don't know if they're gonna stick us to these 3 projects and that's it.
Right. And to be clear, you said you budgeted for it without any help with the grant.
I budgeted for it on both revenue and expense side.
I answer.
So it like will wash out. So if we don't, I did last year too, so we didn't use it. So both that expense and revenue line item sat empty.
Michelle, is there a separate arm of the legislature down in Springfield that is coordinating all of this?
I don't know if it's a separate arm, but
Well,
it
yeah,
is
because it's not a regular stay, right? So this is separate, so who's running this show?
it's just as if, so the normal grants we work with are schools, all school grants. This is not a school grant per se. This is a state of Illinois grant. So is it a separate entity? Yes. It is not through the school board, the Illinois State Board of Education.
Okay.
And a lot of times the federal grants still kind of funnel through the Illinois State Board of Education on the oversee and putting things together. This is just not that same way. It's not the same system. It's not something where we get answers on.
It's a shame, because I honestly think that we were awarded this my first year, and my term is coming up in April.
So the actual award was last year. Now, we were told in your first year of the term that we were on a list. Last year, we received the letter. We just received the Gata NOZA a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Which was an official, you've been awarded the $175,000. So I promise you we're doing everything we can for it.
Oh, yeah,
Promise you
I'm
that.
just trying to understand, because a lot of schools are in the same boat, and I kind of feel like we're alongside.
I'm trying.
It's okay, I understand, just making sure. Thank
And
you.
$175,000 is
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's what it costs me.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll motion.
Renzo, Maria, any discussion? All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The public hearing is adjourned. On to action items. Consider a motion to approve the agenda as modified with just adding a name in 1883. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Molly, Lauren, roll call please.
Mrs. Theodore? Yes. Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. E, consider motion to approve the Norwich School District fiscal year 25 budget. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Amanda, Molly, roll call please.
Mrs. Theodore? Yes. Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trabuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Recognition of visitors, thank you for attending. Correspondence, any note? Public participation, any sign-ups? I think.
You can look at it.
Administrative reports, we are going to just use that which is in our board book as they were posted last Tuesday. And we won't be hearing them aloud now. Board committees. Education, nothing to report. Board policy development.
My presentation.
Presentation. Building grounds, as touched on, there's a meeting now scheduled for October 21st. Behavioral intervention, nothing. Negotiations and human resources,
And we'll have an update during closed session.
okay. Finance, we just had a public hearing concerning the finance. Essentially what would have happened in the finance committee, but was inserted into our monthly meeting. Communications, the second newsletter was released last night, looked great, I'm very glad to have seen it. I think it looked excellent and the content was good. Norwich Park District, I think there was a meeting.
I met with Mr. Brown, the new director of the Norwich Park District today, and there is a request for a committee meeting to happen. It doesn't happen today, but he is, I think, what did he say today? 10 days in the job, but he would like to get the committees together. There are some things to be considered for negotiations of the contract. So I will notify both of you. I let him know both of you are on the committee, and I'll notify you when I hear back from Mr. Brown. Good meeting today. Seems like a great new addition to Norwich Park District, and looking forward to working with him.
On to discussion items.
Thank you. So discussion items today. I will start off with district business. Just want to mention that we do have a new format on the tracks. Instead of having all of the forms scroll down at the end of the tracks, and I want to thank Mrs. Garcia for her work on this, we have links on the right side of the tracks instead. I encourage people to look at those links and please click on them to whatever your needs are. So if you're looking for what kind of opportunities the Ridgewood High School has for students, or what kind of opportunities the Howard Heights has as far as the Fall Fest, please click on those, take a look. But of course, always stay up to date on PTA and MSF. Very important events happening for PTA and MSF. One of the big MSF events that is happening in this gym next Friday, September 27th, is the first monthly bingo event. So this event, doors open here at 5:30, games begin at 6:30. For more information, go on our website. There's a pop-up there that with the flyer, just click on that and you'll be able to read more about the event. Very, very exciting. Had a planning meeting the other day, just got ready to go. It's gonna be great. And just to keep the board updated, my advisory committee is meeting on September 30th, which is in another week. Currently, I have 9 parents who are interested, and then an additional member from PTA and an additional member for NSF. So really looking forward to that. That form closes on September 20th, which is tomorrow, and then I will notify all the parents and we'll get started. Excited about that.
Is it a good mix of all of
It is, actually. Very nice. Next month, I'll have details for you on exactly what students, what parents.
Quick question in regards to bingo, why was this gym picked versus Giles?
Yeah, that's a good question. Wasn't my decision, it was NSF. They felt that there'd be better parking here.
Okay, and in regard, I mean, because we always talk about after-school events, outside school events, it's harder to navigate through the schools at Giles. Will we have, I mean, who's going to be staff?
I will be here at all of the events, and we've encouraged the admin team to take one event per the year. So they'll be there as well. However, with the new locks here at Lee, coming into the gym, we will actually be able to lock down everything at Lee. So once the hallway one is finished to go towards the kindergarten hallway, that will be locked. Getting into Tiger Territory is locked. The teacher's lounge is locked. The admin district office is locked. The one that we're still waiting for is the office itself needs to be flipped around so the office is locked and will be very secure. But I will be doing that. I'm not going to play.
I don't know.
But thank you.
But I'll tell you some really bad dad jokes.
So,
You know I am. I'm going to be walking around. I'm not going to be playing.
so Sheldon, everything will be cleaned up before the Polish school the next day?
Polish schools and tribes. The Polish and the Ukrainian schools, which are now in their 3rd week, are both at tribes.
Okay.
That's going very well, by the way. Ukrainian school, first year with us, going very well. That's great. District policy, tonight I am asking you to approve District Update 115. This is your second read of it. General Title IX changes, we talked about these already. Policy Update 116, you have a paper copy of at this point. We will dig into that next month. We'll be going through the language on 116. We also, as President Trevuzio mentioned last month, we are going to start to dig into a different section of our policy manual per month to build that into our meeting. I gave you a copy of today, section 1, which is not very long. 3 policies. You could, before our next board meeting, read that, see if there's anything that the board would like us to examine and look at further. We will then go forward with section 2, section 3. Some of the sections as we move on will get a little bit meatier, and we can make a decision if we want to put those into 2 meetings. Any questions on policy? Buildings and grounds, we've mentioned everything already, I believe. The meeting is October 21st. This is really a pivotal meeting because this is the meeting where we review everything that's completed. We look at our life safety items, which is always a critical point for us. We also look for additional resources that we can possibly obtain, like additional grant. We will update our 10-year plan by crossing things off, seeing what we need to add, and then plan for our summer work for 2025. This is where we lay all the groundwork of our summer work. So that will be the night of our meeting, October 21st. Follow-up in future, I would like to present to you a small slideshow about the STEAM program at Lee. As you know, we're in the 1st year. Really excited about the new things going on there. So Dr. Raviola will be presenting some of that for us next month. And we also will be looking at first benchmark data next month. And that is my report.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Consent agenda, I need a motion to approve 14A through 14G. Have a motion. Fanny and Rhea, roll call please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lella?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Trevuzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Any board comments? Okay, closed session. Consider motion to adjourn to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, the placement of individual students in the special education program, and other matters related to individual students. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Amanda, Lauren, roll call please.
Mrs. Theodore? Yes. Mrs. Urbach Bonnefield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala? Yes. Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Truzio?
Yes. Motion passes. It is 7:40 right now. Let's meet in Tiger territory for 4 minutes.
Just so we can check this, Miss McPhillips, his name is not, wasn't it? Just grab that real quick. Thank you, just we have a for the record. Thank you. 4 minutes in Tiger territory?
Let's get there.
7:44.
We are back in open session at 10:42. Move ahead to action items. Consider motion to approve the expulsion of student 2025-1 who is identified by name in the closed session minutes for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year for violation of school district 80 rules, and during such expulsion will not be permitted on school district property or to attend school district events, and to authorize the board president to issue the written decision pursuant to 105 ILCS 5/10-22.6. I have a motion.
Motion.
Maria and Renzo, roll call please.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Bonnefield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Truzio?
Yes, motion passes. Consider motion to approve the expulsion of student 2025-2 who was identified by name in the closed session minutes for the remainder of the 2024-2025 school year for violation of school district 80 rules, and during such expulsion will not be permitted on school district property or to attend school district events, and to authorize the board president to issue the written decision pursuant to 105 ILCS 5/10-22.6. Can I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Amanda, Maria, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Truzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Personnel action items. I need a motion to approve 18A1 through 18C2.
Motion.
Second.
Amanda, Fanny, roll call. Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call please.
Mrs. McPhillips?
Yes.
Mrs. Theodore?
Yes.
Mrs. Urbach Barnfield?
Yes.
Mrs. Deck?
Yes.
Mrs. Lala?
Yes.
Mr. Berardi?
Yes.
Mr. Truzio?
Yes, the motion passes. Board meeting reflection.
Thank you.
reflected. I need a motion to adjourn this meeting at 10:46. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The meeting is now adjourned.